What if I told you that everything you've been striving for, every moment of anxiety, every battle with uncertainty, has already been taken care of? What if I told you that today, in this very moment, you don't have to fight anymore? You are not here by accident. There is something greater at work in your life, something unseen yet undeniable. The force that wakes the sun each morning, that keeps the planets in their perfect motion, is the same force that has guided you here. And now it has one message for you. My grace is sufficient for you. The world tells you that you must carry your burdens alone, that your strength comes from relentless effort, from proving your worth. But what if true strength is not found in the struggle, but in surrender? Imagine standing at the edge of an infinite ocean, its waves stretching beyond the horizon. No matter how much water is drawn from it, no matter how deep you reach, it never runs dry. That is the nature of God's grace. It is endless, boundless, always flowing, waiting for you to trust in it. You've tried to hold everything together on your own. You've shouldered the weight of expectations, the pressure to succeed, the fear of what tomorrow holds. But today, right now, something shifts. You do not have to carry it all. You were never meant to. Before we begin this morning prayer, let me ask you, what if today was different? What if instead of striving, you simply received? What if you could wake up each morning with the unshakable certainty that you are already provided for, because the truth is you are. You always have been. And now it's time to open your heart and step into the fullness of divine grace. Grace, a word spoken often, yet rarely understood. What does it truly mean? Is it mercy? Is it favor? Is it an unseen force that moves through our lives, or something greater, something beyond comprehension? From the moment humanity first questioned its existence, grace has been present. In the beginning, it was the breath of life itself, the invisible thread connecting creation to its creator. When Moses stood before the burning bush, grace was the voice that called his name. When David stood before Goliath, grace was the courage in his heart. When Paul, blinded on the road to Damascus, cried out for understanding, grace was the light that restored his sight. It is not something earned. It is not a reward for righteousness or a gift reserved for the perfect. Grace is given freely. It is the unshaken promise that no matter how far you wander, no matter how heavy the burdens you carry, you are never beyond redemption. But to receive it, you must first recognize it. You must step beyond the illusion that life's challenges are yours alone to bear. When God spoke to Paul, he did not promise to remove his struggles. He simply said, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." Weakness. The very thing we try to hide, the thing we are told to overcome. But what if our weakness is not a curse, but an invitation? What if, in our moments of greatest uncertainty, we are closest to divine strength? Consider the rising sun. Does it fight to shine? Does it struggle to bring warmth to the earth? No, it simply exists, and in its existence it fulfills its purpose. This is grace. It does not demand. It does not force. It simply flows, waiting for you to embrace it. So why do we resist? Why do we cling so tightly to our burdens when we have been offered the peace of divine provision? Because we have been taught that struggle is necessary, that effort equals worth. But grace defies human logic. It is not transactional. It is not given because we deserve it. It is given because we are loved. And that love is relentless. It does not waver. It does not fade. It is the quiet whisper in the storm, the gentle hand that lifts you when you fall, the unseen force that has carried you through every moment when you thought you could not go on. Perhaps you have felt it before. Those moments when, against all odds, something worked in your favor. When doors opened that should have remained closed. When peace arrived in the midst of chaos without explanation. That was grace, and it has always been enough. But knowing grace exists is not enough. You must step into it. You must release the need to control, the fear of the unknown, the belief that your worth is measured by your ability to endure hardship alone. So let me ask you, what are you holding on to that is not yours to carry? What burdens have you convinced yourself are necessary when all along they were meant to be laid at His feet? Because the truth is this: you are not meant to struggle. You are meant to trust. You are meant to wake each day knowing that God's grace is already at work in your life, moving in ways you cannot yet see, preparing blessings you cannot yet imagine. But first, you must let go. For so long you have believed that if you stop striving, everything will fall apart, that if you do not push forward with all your strength, you will be left behind. But what if that belief is the very thing keeping you from the life God has prepared for you? Self-sufficiency. It is a concept deeply ingrained in us. The idea that we must be independent, that we must take control, that we must be the masters of our own fate. But what if that is an illusion? Think of a child in the arms of a loving parent. That child does not worry about tomorrow. It does not question whether its needs will be met. It simply rests, secure in the knowledge that it is cared for. This is the trust you are called to. Not a passive surrender, but an active faith. A faith that says, I do not have to know the way because I trust the one who does. You are not weak for needing help. You are not failing because you cannot do it all. You were never meant to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. When Jesus said, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest," he was not offering empty words. He was extending an invitation. A way out of the exhaustion, the fear, the endless striving. You do not have to be perfect to receive grace. You do not have to prove yourself worthy. You only have to be willing. Willing to step back. Willing to let go. Willing to say, God, I trust you more than I trust my own understanding. And when you do, when you truly release control, something miraculous happens. The fear begins to fade. The tension that has gripped your heart for so long starts to loosen, because suddenly you are no longer alone. You are no longer fighting an unwinnable battle. You are standing in the presence of the one who has already won. So as you begin this day, ask yourself, what if I no longer had to figure everything out on my own? What if I could wake up each morning knowing that I am supported, guided, and held in divine grace? Because you are, and you always have been. Now it's time to live in that truth. There is a moment, a sacred shift, that happens when you stop resisting and start receiving. A moment when your soul exhales, when the tension you've carried for so long finally begins to dissolve. This is the moment when you step into grace, not as a concept, not as a distant idea, but as a living, breathing reality. But how do you step into something unseen? How do you align yourself with divine provision when life seems to demand that you stay in control? It begins the moment you wake. The moment your eyes open to a new day, you have a choice: to start with fear or to start with faith, to believe in scarcity or to believe in sufficiency. Most people wake up already burdened. Their minds immediately fill with worries, to-do lists, unanswered questions. Their first thoughts are not of gratitude but of pressure, not of divine support but of survival. But what if the way you begin your morning determines the course of your entire day? What if your first breath, your first words, your first thoughts could align you with a supernatural flow of peace, abundance, and certainty? Because they can. God's grace is not passive. It is waiting to be activated. It is waiting for you to step into it with intention, to align your spirit with the provision that has already been set aside for you. So before you step into the world today, pause. Before you pick up your phone, before you let worry creep into your mind, take a moment to acknowledge the truth. Everything you need is already on its way. You are not waking up into chaos. You are waking up into divine order. You are not stepping into uncertainty. You are stepping into a plan that has been unfolding long before you even knew what to ask for. And when you truly grasp this, when you allow this to sink into your spirit, you will feel a shift. The same circumstances that once filled you with anxiety will no longer shake you. The things you used to chase will now come to you effortlessly. The stress that once seemed inescapable will begin to dissolve, because you will finally understand you were never meant to do this alone. Everything changes when you stop seeing yourself as the source of your own provision and start seeing God as the provider. When you stop asking, how will I make this happen? And start asking, how will God reveal His abundance today? And He will, because He always does. But you must choose to believe it. You must wake up every morning with the expectation that something good is already moving in your direction, that doors are already opening, that answers are already being prepared. This is not wishful thinking. It is divine truth. It is the law of spiritual alignment, and the more you trust in it, the more you will see it unfold in your life. So today, let your first words be words of gratitude. Let your first thoughts be filled with faith. And as you do, you will find that the weight of the world is not yours to carry after all. It never was. Grace is not only a source of inner peace, it is the key to supernatural overflow. The mistake so many people make is believing that grace is only for the spirit, that it is only about salvation, forgiveness, or peace of mind. But grace is far greater than that. It is not only the unseen force that sustains your soul, it is the divine provision that sustains every area of your life, your relationships, your health, your purpose, your finances. Grace does not stop where logic begins. It does not operate within the limits of human reasoning or earthly resources. It is the very power of heaven, the abundance of eternity breaking into time. Most people live believing that success comes from effort alone, that wealth is a product of hard work, that love is something to be earned, that healing is something to be achieved. But true abundance does not come from striving. It comes from alignment. When you live in divine alignment, when you trust in the sufficiency of grace, you step into an overflow that reaches beyond what human effort could ever produce. This is why some people seem to receive with ease, while others struggle endlessly. Why some doors open effortlessly, while others remain closed no matter how hard they are pushed. Because the difference is not in their effort, but in their faith, not in their striving, but in their surrender. A river does not force itself to flow. It simply moves in harmony with the path set before it, and in doing so it nourishes everything in its reach. This is how grace works in your life. It does not require you to force your way forward. It only asks that you remain open, that you trust, that you align yourself with the divine current already flowing in your favor. And when you do, the things you once fought for will begin to come effortlessly. The opportunities you once chased will begin to seek you out. The resources you once struggled to obtain will begin to multiply in ways you never expected. Because grace is not just about peace, it is about provision. It is not only about salvation, it is about supernatural abundance. And that abundance is not for a select few. It is not reserved for the lucky or the chosen. It is for you, but only if you are willing to receive it. So what if, instead of striving today, you allowed yourself to flow? What if, instead of worrying about what is missing, you trusted that everything you need is already being prepared? What if, instead of chasing abundance, you let abundance chase you? Because that is exactly what it will do. The world will tell you that nothing comes for free, that success is reserved for the strongest, that only those who fight the hardest will receive their reward. But grace tells a different story. Grace says that you do not have to fight alone, that you do not have to exhaust yourself in pursuit of what God has already prepared. Grace says that the more you trust, the more you will receive. And that trust begins right now. You stand at the edge of something greater than you can imagine. The question is, will you step into it? The time has come to let go of the illusion that you are the source of your own provision. The time has come to release the weight of scarcity thinking, to stop believing that abundance is something you must chase, something you must fight for. Because abundance is already yours. It has always been yours. It was written into your existence before you ever took your first breath. It was sealed in eternity before time itself began. And now all that is required of you is this: to believe, to wake up each morning and say, God, I trust you more than I trust my circumstances, to step into each day with the quiet certainty that you are already taken care of, to walk in faith, not fear, to know beyond any doubt that grace is not only sufficient for you, it is overflowing, uncontainable, more than enough. This is not just a promise for tomorrow. It is not a distant hope, waiting to be fulfilled. It is here, it is now, it is your reality, if you are willing to claim it. So step into it, speak it, live it, because today is the beginning of something greater than you have ever known. You are standing at the threshold of something extraordinary, a life not defined by struggle, but by divine abundance. A life where grace is not a distant hope, but an ever-present reality. The only thing standing between you and this truth is the belief that you must do it all on your own. For too long, you have carried burdens that were never meant for you. You have worried about things already taken care of. You have asked how, when the answer has always been who. Who is your provider? Who is the source of all things? Who holds the universe together with a single word? God. He is not just aware of your needs. He is already meeting them. Even in this moment, things are shifting in your favor, aligning in ways you cannot yet see. But there is a principle you must understand. Faith activates grace. Trust is the bridge that allows divine abundance to flow into your life. You cannot hold on to doubt and receive freely at the same time. You cannot grip fear in one hand and expect blessings to pour into the other. You must release. You must step fully into trust, knowing that what is coming is greater than anything you could have created on your own. This is not a passive waiting. It is an active alignment. When you declare, "I trust in God's provision," you shift the atmosphere around you. When you say, "I will not worry for my God provides," you break the chains of lack. You are not weak for needing help. You are not failing because you cannot do it alone. You were designed for partnership with God, with grace, with divine provision that never runs dry. So the question is, are you willing to receive? Will you wake up tomorrow with the confidence that heaven is working on your behalf? Will you release the fear that has held you back and step into the certainty of supernatural overflow? Because the moment you do, everything changes. The moment you let go of control, you step into a current stronger than any human effort. The moment you trust, the doors begin to open. The moment you believe, the provision begins to flow, and it will not stop. Because grace is not a temporary gift, it is an eternal promise. You have come this far not by accident, but by divine guidance. You are here now receiving these words because something inside of you already knows they are true. You were made for more than survival. You were made to walk in abundance. It is already yours. Will you claim it? Too often we are conditioned to believe that wealth, true wealth, is something distant, something reserved for others, something we must endlessly chase but never fully grasp. But divine abundance is not something you strive for. It is something you align with. It is something you receive. God's grace is not limited to spiritual matters. It touches everything. It is in the peace that fills your heart. It is in the strength that carries you through difficulty. And yes, it is in the financial blessings, the opportunities, the resources that flow to those who trust in divine provision. This is not a material pursuit. This is not about chasing after riches. This is about stepping into a divine inheritance. That has always been yours. When you trust that God is your provider, money is no longer something to fear. It is no longer a source of anxiety. It is no longer an idol. It becomes a tool, an extension of grace, a means through which you fulfill your purpose, bless others, and build a legacy. Because divine wealth is not about accumulation. It is about circulation. What you receive is meant to flow through you. The more you give, the more you create space to receive. This is the law of divine abundance. You cannot hoard what was meant to flow. Look at nature. Rivers do not hoard water. They let it flow, and in doing so they remain full. Trees do not cling to their leaves. They release them, making way for new growth. This is the rhythm of grace. This is the secret to lasting wealth. Not striving, but trusting. Not hoarding, but giving. The world operates on fear, fear of lack, fear of loss, fear of the unknown. But you are not of this world. You do not operate by its laws. You are under the law of divine provision, where faith is the currency and trust is the key that unlocks supernatural abundance. So today, make a decision. Will you continue to believe in scarcity? Or will you step into the overflow that has been waiting for you all along? Because the moment you choose faith, lack loses its grip. The moment you embrace divine abundance, miracles begin to happen. And the more you give, the more you will receive. Not because of effort, not because of striving, but because that is how grace works. If you could see what is already being prepared, for you would never fear again. If you could glimpse the provision waiting just beyond the veil of the present moment, you would step forward with unshakable confidence. Because the truth is, you are already provided for. You are already taken care of. The answers are already in motion. The doors are already unlocking. You do not have to fight for it. You do not have to prove yourself worthy. You only have to trust. You have been given everything you need to step into the next season of your life with confidence. No more fear. No more striving. No more questioning if you are enough. You are enough because He is enough. And His grace is not only sufficient, it is abundant. It is overflowing. It is limitless. So step into it. Speak it. Declare it. Live it. Because today is not just another day. It is a day of alignment, a day of breakthrough, a day where you step into the fullness of everything God has prepared for you. You do not walk alone. You do not have to figure it all out. You only have to receive. Grace is here, and it is more than enough.